Since a time long forgotten, the Japanese islands had been inhabited by tribes fighting and killing each other. It was a fantastic time not to be alive. One man, Jimmu, descendant of Amaterasu, the sun goddess, walked into this madness to bring order to the land and rule it as emperor. Jimmu had taken a long journey into the heart of Japan, and this heart was doing cardio. The people there knew he was coming. They were training and waiting for him with weapons. If he failed to destroy them, it would have been all for nothing. He would have lost his brothers for nothing. If you haven't seen the previous video, you might want to watch that now to see how this all started. Jimmu climbed to the peak of a mountain to see what losers he was dealing with, and saw 4 armies in his way. An army of men on a slope, an army of women on another slope, 80 bandits on a hill, and another army of 80 led by Shiki the Elder, a guy we'll talk about later. The enemy had strength in numbers, suspiciously round numbers. Ancient people in mythology really liked gathering in groups of 80, you may think. But 80 back then was just another way of saying a lot. Like how these days you may say, this test is 10 times harder than the last one, or there's a million reasons why my collar could have lipstick on it, honey. These armies held positions strong enough to annoy Jimmu, so he employed a strategy that proved effective in the past. He prayed and fell asleep. When in doubt, black out. Sure enough, in his dreams, the goddess Amaterasu told him what to do. Take earth from the shrine of Mount Kagu and make 80 heavenly plates and 80 sacred jars. Use them to make a sacrifice to the gods of heaven and earth and curse the enemies. It would make them surrender. This sounded ridiculous, and as good a plan as any he could think of, so after the tactical nap, Jimmu prepared equipment for a trek up the mountain. As a good leader, Jimmu knew the importance of leading by delegation, so he sent 2 of his men to go do it for him. The first volunteer he chose was good old Ukeshi the Younger, a trustworthy man who betrayed his own brother to follow Jimmu. Jimmu had more trust than he had people. The other man was a smart advisor named Shi Netsuko. He was the fisherman that helped guide Emperor Jimmu at the beginning of the voyage. Jimmu told Ukeshi the Younger to disguise as an old woman, and Shi Netsuiko an old man with raggedy clothes and a straw hat. Almost pissing themselves, the 2 started walking down the road full of people who were holding really sharp opinions, and Shi Netsuiko started praying. He asked the gods that if it were possible for his emperor to conquer this land, then let the road be open. The enemy soldiers saw a harmless old man and woman and laughed like maniacs, which was kinda rude to be laughing at an old couple for no reason. No wonder Jimmu felt a need to bring order to this land. The armies allowed them through. The disguise worked. The 2 pensioners went up the mountain and returned with a bunch of clay and an empty bladder. Following the dream, Jimmu took that clay and made 80 plates and 80 jars and brought them to a river. And this was when things got interesting. He declared that if he was able to make this dessert in the 80 plates without using water, he would bring peace to the realm without effort. And suddenly, desserts appeared right on the plates. But he wasn't done yet. He announced that he would sink the sacred jars in the river, and if the fishes become drunk and float down the stream like leaves, he would succeed in the heavenly task to bring order to the world. Jimmu had people sink the jars upside down, already amazing, but then it happened just like he said. All the fish floated to the surface and then down the stream. By this point, he should have just wished for a Japanese state to be formed already, since the gods were granting all the wishes that day. After the ritual, they had a festival, a big old party, and then Jimmu marched his troops onward and demolished the bandits. There were still other enemies, so Jimmu asked one of his generals to pull a great trick on them. His name was Michi no Omi no Mikoto. We call him Michi down at the pub. Michi went to a village and prepared a huge banquet. For his men? Nope. He invited their enemies, and he told his men at the party to keep an ear out. When they hear his signal, they should slaughter everyone. What was the signal? A song. The unsuspecting enemy soldiers came, they ate, they drank until they couldn't see straight. And then Michi sang a song that got more and more ominous as it went on. It went like this. At Osaka, this was some random village, not the Osaka you know. In this great pit house, though men in plenty enter and stay, we the glorious sons of warriors, wielding our mallet heads, wielding our stone mallets, will smite them utterly. The partiers thought, this is lovely folk music, I wonder how the chorus would sound. And then Michi's soldiers did indeed smite them utterly. After the murder banquet, the imperial army marched towards the army of Shiki the Elder. Jimmu sent his crow to Shiki the Elder, who raised his bow to scare it away. The crow then flew to Shiki the Younger, his younger brother, hoping for better treatment. Shiki the Younger panicked and served the crow food with 8 plates made of leaves. Younger brothers are not to be trusted in Japanese mythology because this guy, like Ukeshi the Younger before him, went to Emperor Jimmu and warned that his brother was about to attack. And it was true, Shiki the Elder was fearsome. He prepared a huge army, and he also laid burning charcoal at his army's back so they couldn't be caught from behind. Shiki was all, "Hey Jimmy, why don't you turn back, because there ain't no way forward for you." Now, when you're a descendant of the sun goddess, you hate people throwing shade. Listening to his advisors, Emperor Jimmy sent his weaker troops first. Shiki the Elder ordered all his best men to repel the attack. But what he didn't know was that Jimmy's strongest men were not in the first attack. They were going around them. There was a river there. The imperial soldiers doused the burning charcoal with river water and attacked from behind. Jimmu's men charged, a sky of smoke at their backs, and destroyed Shiki the Elder and his army. Now, Jimmu had one last annoying piece of food between his teeth. His old nemesis, the Prince of Nagasune, the guy he ran from before. Remember, Jimmu's brother died because he was hit by an arrow in the first battle with this prince, so it was personal. The two armies clashed over and over again. People died, but not enough. Neither side gave in. Suddenly, the sky darkened and it started to hail. A golden kite dove from the clouds. Not that kind, the badass bird kind. A golden kite dove from the clouds and landed on Jimmu's bow. From the bird came a dazzling light that stunned the enemy soldiers. Soon after, a messenger of the prince came with a letter. The prince told a story. Some time ago, a descendant of Amaterasu came down from heaven to live in his domain. The man's name was Nigihayashi no Mikoto, and he married the prince's younger sister. The prince took this Nigihayashi no Mikoto to be his lord. The prince asked, "Are there really more than one descendant of the goddess? But why should another man call himself a child of the heavenly deity and steal people's lands?" Jimmu said, "There are many other descendants of the sun goddess. If this Nigihayashi no Mikoto is truly her descendant, then he must own some sacred object." It was a good point, because it allowed him to totally ignore the prince's second question of why he could steal people's lands. The prince actually said yes, Nigihayashi no Mikoto did have sacred things, then brought over a feathered arrow and a quiver, which were real sacred objects. Emperor Jimmu also showed his own feathered arrow and quiver. It was then that the prince realized Jimmu was a real descendant, and he got embarrassed. But war was like pissing. Once you start, it's almost impossible to stop. He continued the attacks. Now, the actual Nigihayashi no Mikoto was up in heaven and heard of this. He respected Amaterasu's support of Emperor Jimmu and was mad that the prince dared to oppose him. So he came down from heaven and treated the prince the typical way a disappointed Asian father treats a child. He killed him. No more disappointment. Afterwards, Jimmu went around and subjugated all of the smaller clans in the area that refused his peaceful rule. He found a wife and built a capital to rule over his domain, a domain that he hoped would one day extend over the entire world. Now, I've been calling him Emperor Jimmu, but officially this was the start of his reign in 660 BC. He became the actual emperor of Japan and started the whole imperial family line that supposedly has survived unbroken to this day. That's 2,600 years, or 80 years. So that version of the story was mostly from the Nihon Shoki, but Japan's other creation myth book, the Kojiki, has some differences. My favorite bit from the Kojiki was it said Jimmu liked to sing in combat. He sang while fighting other enemies, he sang before killing a man. When his men got tired in battle, he sang to boost morale. I just love the idea of Emperor Jimmu cutting people's heads while maintaining perfect pitch. Jimmu was a pretty good ruler until he died, but the craziest thing about him was the way his father-in-law seduced his mother-in-law. But that's a story for the next video. Click here to see that one. We have a new Shogun YouTube member, Jake Floyd. You're amazing. I will follow you into battle, sir. We also have new members on Patreon and YouTube today, Aisha Edwards, Chulito4596, Princess Madeira, and Pokemon God, who I will worship. Thanks so much, you guys. All right, I love you, and spread the knowledge.